Maybe there are three ways I can talk about the how I get into painting or what I look for, and it has a lot to do with part of it is painting. It's unavoidable for me. I remember growing up, not necessarily with the history of painting. I didn't go to museums, but more that I was surrounded by images, and I was always looking at images or kind of visualizing images from my grandfather telling me a story or me reciting poetry. That's a big thing for Bengalis. I remember when I was a undergrad going to Italy for the first time as part of a program, the university has the European Honors Program, and not really being interested in this kind of dramatic painting, but kind of falling in love with a painting like the one on the right by Fra Angelico, this kind of small, intimate painting where these images, I didn't really necessarily come at it from obviously a religious point of view, but just kind of really becoming interested in how color was being used, how design was working. I felt almost a natural affinity for a kind of underlying architecture that was in that work. And then that, in a way, giving me an entry point into like a painting from the left. So that for me has really continued. The left over here is a detail of a Mughal miniature, death of Khan Jahan Lodi, and on the right, it's it's a detail from a large fresco by Piero della Francesca in Arezzo. Both of them depict people being killed, and that is intentional on my part that I'm showing this. But the other part of that has to do with a type of almost calm detachment. And I remember looking at these paintings in person, both the painting on the left, which the Met owns, and was part of an exhibition. It's been part of two exhibitions, actually, and I remember getting up close and looking at them. And then the one on the right, it's like a large cycle that you're standing and you're looking up and you're kind of craning your neck. And I think that this, to me, leads into the role of architecture for me, or the sense of place. And to me, that's somewhat complicated because I'm not an architect. I'm not really interested in, architecture, or has never been interesting in terms of like me wanting to be an architect. But what I am interested in is how we as people interact with the world when we're aware of our surroundings. And I remember going up the steps in San Marco in Florence, looking at that painting. And while this is an image it's a fresco, so it's on the wall, it's not going anywhere. Something about when you're going up steps and coming down the steps, there is a kind of regeneration, almost like a refresh, that an image refreshes when you refresh your monitor. That it's another opportunity to interact, another opportunity to look out the window, another opportunity to decide which way you're going to go. So there's a temporality relationship to architecture that I'm interested in, and sometimes that temporality is literal in the sense that during I was mentioning earlier, during Durga Puja, which is something that I used to look forward to every year as a kid, I would go with my uncles and my father to some of the major kind of neighborhoods to see, and I would just sit on the floor and draw. But I think, and that was a big part of my entry point into painting, which is it had everything. It had like stories, it had drama, it had figures. I think that's how I learned how to draw the figure, actually, just drawing, Durga and Lakshmi and everybody else in the consortium. But also. Here, there's a little, there's me drawing. The comics, which were, I used to collect these like crazy. But also the fact that, these incredible temporal structures are built really, for the duration of a week or 10 days, and then they come back down, and these elements are cycled, recycled, reused, and every year each neighborhood tries to outdo themselves and also their neighboring. So there's this kind of battle going on. Some of these, as they've I haven't been to Durga Puja in years now, like over 10 years, at least in Kolkata. But that to me, the reason I bring that up is because the fact that this whole room, this incredible Colosseum-like space is being built for this 10 days, and that people coming in are both marveling at this superstructure, but it's also a place of worship and intimacy, and almost bigger than ourselves. That to me is kind of amazing, that a space can do that. So the reason I bring that up is because, like, for me, I'm not. So this painting is in the show downstairs, and actually does directly relate it partially to the story of Durga and Mahishasur. The image just refers to Mahishasur Murdini, and but also on the left is a more prosaic and a kind of a everyday aspect of a figure putting together something. But I do think what I've taken from these types of experiences is that I like the idea, or it's inevitable that my paintings end up like images that on one hand have a incredible graphic quality to them, but on the other side they have what I always use the phrase like a slow bleed, where the information, the content, the suggestibility, everything kind of slowly leaks out, in the sense that that I'm very much a proponent of painting being a space where questions are met with questions, fragments interact, and you're asked to linger, you're asked to kind of hang on and just kind of be there.